Hello there, it's Alana Techie, and I want to show you something else really quickly before we're moving on to our next topics, which is there is another way to find a linear regression equation. Now, I showed in a previous video how, well, one, how to make scattergrams and fiddle around with that and make them pretty and all that, and then add the trend line, and then you can display the equation on the trend line and you can see it right there. But there is another way. Let me click up here on any empty cell, it doesn't really matter where I go, and type equals slope, capital, right? And this is a formula, and we've already dealt with a formula. You know what, let me back up. We already dealt with a formula when we dealt with finding these values, remember? Because I did A2, which is 1992, and I took away 1990, and then I dragged that formula down, and everything got figured out perfectly for me. So if I want the slope, equals slope, parentheses, and it's going to ask you what are your known y's and then what are your known x's. Now notice that's backwards. There's a good reason for it, but it has to do with statistics, and I'm not going to get into it, but just suffice it to say that is actually really common for the y's to come first before the x's, especially in computer programs because they get used for more advanced topics. So y's come first, comma, and I don't know if you caught what I did, but you can either type it or you can use your mouse. So I can say, okay, my y's are starting at 1168 and all the way down to 702. So what I'm doing is I'm highlighting that data by using my left mouse button. I click and hold down, drag my mouse down, and lift up. Or you can just type. You can say, look, it's sort of like Battleship, right? C2 is my starter, right? Colon, and then C12 is my last one. And you can see it in blue, it's highlighting that box. Comma, now I'm going to put in the x's. Well, if I want to do it with typing, it's B2 right there, see, comma, colon B12. Or again, you could just use your mouse. You can say, okay, forget that. Hold down on the 2, drag down, lift up, there you go. B2 colon B12. Enter. There's your slope. Look right there. It's got negative 21.509. And if I double click, I can actually get more decimal places that way. This guy over here is only doing a few by default. You can fiddle around with that too, but you know, again, there are a lot of options in Excel. It's kind of ridiculous. All right, now the Y-intercept is the other piece you need. Right, so you've got your m, you've got your slope is negative 21. Your intercept is equal to intercept. I know it's crazy, but true. And again, it goes backwards. The y's come first, comma, the x's come second. And you can either type them or you can use your mouse and kind of highlight them. Don't get the labels. We don't care about the burglary rate and the T. That's just a letter, right? We want the numbers. Close your parentheses, enter, and there you go. And you can see I've got a little more decimal places, and if I double click, oh, you probably don't know how I did that. Sorry, I do that without thinking. So originally when I got it, I got this answer, negative 21.509, but I know that it's storing more decimal places. So what I did was I clicked on the column. See how I got the E highlighted? Here, if I move this, you can see it. See how the whole column's highlighted? And then I moved my cursor so that it's kind of in the line in between the E and the F. See how it turns into a double-sided arrow? And then I double click and it makes it automatically fit to about 10 decimal places total. It only stores so many digits. It actually has more digits in its memory, but it's not going to show them to you unless you start fighting with Excel, and we're not going to do that. And I did the same thing here. I'm sorry, I don't even think about it anymore. So I clicked on the F and I kind of roamed over here. You don't want to go to the left side. Maybe you could do. Nope, left side won't work. I want to go to the right side because I want it to go out to the right a little bit more. Then I make my mouse hover so that it becomes that double-sided arrow. I double click and then it makes it perfectly as wide as I need for those digits. And I don't know if you caught it, but it kept making the graph wider. If the graph is overlaying those columns, it makes it wider. So you can just kind of narrow it back down if you want. Move it over. So that's it. So there's your slope and your y-intercept. It's not as written out as this, but that might be a good thing sometimes. Sometimes you might want more decimal places, or you might want them in their own cells, because then you could use this, you know, you can say, okay, it's this times x plus this, so I could figure out my own values, etc., etc. It's sort of like it's storing it in a way that you can't access from the trendline options. And just on a side note real quick, if you want more decimal places in here, you can click on this little guy and then you right click. Oh, here, hold on. If I double click on him, there he goes. Format the trendline label, which I'm sure is in here somewhere, but I'd have to fiddle around. Trendline options, It's not in there. So I guess there's another way to get to it. I know there is. I just have to fiddle with it. But anyway, I'm kind of clicking on the little box and I'm double clicking on the edge. You see how I made it a 4-pointed arrow and then double clicked? And I can say make it a number with 4 decimal places, enter, and then it's giving me 4 decimal places. Right? So you can fiddle around with having it give you more. Again, I'm getting to that edge where it's a 4-pointed arrow and then I'm double clicking and I say I want 3 decimal places. And then it'll give me 3 decimal places. And you say, oh, I don't like that comma thing, so I can get rid of the comma separator. And now it makes it 1082 without a comma. See? So you can fiddle around in there as well. All right, I hope that helps. See you here for more videos.